How much money can you really make from just 1 acre of land? If you've spent any time watching farming or homesteading videos online, you've probably heard some pretty wild claims. One person says you can make a few $100s a year. Another claims you can make 6 figures from a single acre. So what's the truth? Can 1 acre actually generate a meaningful income, or is it just another internet fantasy? The answer is that 1 acre can absolutely produce income, but the amount you earn depends entirely on how you use that land. A 1 acre cornfield will produce very different results than a 1 acre market garden. A property focused on livestock will generate different profits than one focused on specialty crops. And a farmer selling directly to customers will almost always earn more than someone selling through wholesalers. In this video, we're going to break down the real numbers. We'll look at different farming models, realistic income expectations, startup costs, common mistakes, and the strategies that give small acre farmers the highest chance of success. By the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer understanding of what 1 acre is capable of producing and whether it could become a profitable part-time business or even a full-time income source. Let's get started. Before we start talking about profits, we need to address something important. Most small farms fail to make significant money, not because farming is impossible, not because the land isn't productive, and not because customers don't exist. The biggest reason is that many people approach farming the wrong way. They think farming is simply about growing food. In reality, profitable farming is about growing the right products for the right customers and selling them in the right way. Let's look at a common example. Imagine 2 farmers each have 1 acre of land. The first farmer plants commodity crops such as corn or soybeans. The second farmer grows specialty vegetables, herbs, and high-value crops that are sold directly to local customers. Both farmers are working with the same amount of land, but their financial results can be dramatically different. The commodity farmer may produce thousands of pounds of food, yet earn very little profit because commodity prices are low and competition is high. The specialty grower may produce less overall volume, but generate far more income because every square foot is being used strategically. This is one of the biggest lessons in small-scale farming. When land is limited, productivity per acre matters more than total production. Small acre farming is not a volume game. It's a value game. Another mistake people make is trying to grow everything. Many beginners want a little bit of everything: corn, potatoes, tomatoes, chickens, goats, fruit trees, and more. While that sounds attractive, it often leads to poor results because attention becomes divided across too many projects. Successful small farmers usually focus on a few profitable enterprises and do them exceptionally well. They become known for quality. They build loyal customers, and they create systems that are efficient and repeatable. The final mistake is relying entirely on wholesale markets. Wholesale buyers typically pay the lowest prices. The farmer does all the work while middlemen take a large portion of the profit. Small acre farmers who sell directly to consumers through farmers markets, farm stands, restaurants, community-supported agriculture programs, or online local sales usually earn much higher margins. Understanding these principles is critical because the income potential of 1 acre depends less on the size of the land and more on how intelligently that land is managed. Now let's look at the different income levels 1 acre can realistically produce. One of the biggest misconceptions about farming is that all acres are equal. They're not. The income generated from 1 acre can vary dramatically depending on what is being produced and how it is being sold. To make this easier to understand, let's divide 1 acre farming into 4 income levels. Level 1 is hobby farming. This is where many people start. The land is primarily used to grow food for the household, with only occasional sales to friends, neighbors, or local markets. A hobby farm might sell extra eggs, vegetables, or fruit during the growing season. Annual income from this type of operation is usually between a few $100s and a few $1,000s. The primary benefit is reducing grocery expenses rather than generating significant profit. Level 2 is part-time farming. At this level, the farmer intentionally grows products for sale and actively seeks customers. This could include vegetables, herbs, eggs, honey, flowers, or specialty crops. Many 1 acre farms in this category generate between $5,000 and $20,000 per year in gross revenue. Some earn more, some earn less. The difference usually comes down to production efficiency and marketing. Level 3 is intensive market farming. This is where things start becoming very interesting. These farms focus heavily on high-value crops, intensive production methods, succession planting, and direct-to-consumer sales. Instead of treating farming as a side hobby, it becomes a serious business. Many successful market gardeners have generated $30,000 to $70,000 or more in annual revenue from a single acre. Some operations exceed these numbers, but they require exceptional management and significant labor. Level 4 is specialized premium production. These farms focus on products that command very high prices. Examples include microgreens, gourmet mushrooms, specialty herbs, nursery plants, cut flowers, seedling production, breeding livestock, or value-added products. Because these products generate much higher revenue per square foot, some small acre operations have exceeded six figures in annual revenue. However, these examples represent the top end of the industry and often involve years of experience, established customer bases, and highly refined systems. This is where many online farming claims become misleading. When someone says they made $100,000 from 1 acre, they're usually talking about gross revenue, not profit. They're also typically using highly intensive production methods and selling premium products directly to customers. The average beginner should not expect these results in their first year. But understanding what's possible helps illustrate an important point. The income potential of 1 acre isn't determined by the acre itself. It's determined by the farming model. The same acre that generates $2,000 under one system might generate $50,000 under another. That's why choosing the right enterprise is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make as a small farmer. Next, let's look at the specific farming enterprises that generate the highest profits on small acreage. Now that we understand the different income levels of 1 acre farming, let's talk about where the real money is made. Not all crops are created equal. Some crops take up a lot of space and generate very little revenue. Others can produce surprisingly high returns from a relatively small area. If your goal is maximizing profit from 1 acre, crop selection becomes one of the most important decisions you'll make. Let's start with one of the highest value categories, microgreens. Microgreens are young vegetable greens harvested shortly after germination. Because they grow quickly, require very little space, and are popular with restaurants and health-conscious consumers, they can generate extremely high revenue per square foot. Many growers harvest multiple crops every month from the same growing area. Next are culinary herbs. Basil, cilantro, parsley, dill, mint, and specialty herbs are consistently in demand. Restaurants, caterers, farmers market shoppers, and home cooks often pay premium prices for fresh herbs because quality matters. Unlike commodity crops, freshness can significantly increase value. Salad greens are another strong performer. Lettuce mixes, spinach, arugula, and specialty greens grow quickly and can be planted repeatedly throughout the season. A well-managed salad green operation can generate consistent weekly harvests and repeat customers. Then there are specialty vegetables. Heirloom tomatoes, colorful peppers, specialty cucumbers, unique squash varieties, and gourmet vegetables often command much higher prices than standard supermarket produce. Customers are willing to pay more for flavor, freshness, and uniqueness. Cut flowers have also become a surprisingly profitable enterprise for many small farmers. People often underestimate how much consumers spend on flowers for weddings, events, gifts, and home decoration. A small flower growing operation can generate impressive revenue from limited land. Another high-value category is nursery plants and seedlings. Many gardeners prefer buying healthy young plants rather than starting seeds themselves. Selling vegetable starts in spring can create a significant seasonal income stream. Gourmet mushrooms are also worth mentioning. Although they are often grown indoors rather than directly on the acre itself, mushrooms can produce substantial income from a relatively small footprint. Now let's talk about what usually doesn't work well on a small acre if profit is your primary goal. Corn, pumpkins, watermelons, and other large space crops often require too much land relative to their selling price. These crops can be great for personal consumption or larger farms, but they rarely maximize profit on small acreage. This doesn't mean you should never grow them. It simply means they shouldn't be the foundation of a profit-focused 1 acre farm. The most successful small acre farmers focus on products that generate high value per square foot. They look at every section of land as an opportunity to create revenue. And because space is limited, they choose crops that earn the most from that space. But crops are only one piece of the puzzle. Many 1 acre farms generate substantial income by combining crops with livestock. Let's look at how animals can dramatically increase the earning potential of a small property. When most people think about farming, they picture fields of crops stretching across the horizon. But some of the most profitable 1 acre farms don't rely solely on plants. They use livestock to create additional income streams, improve soil fertility, diversify risk, and make better use of available space. The key is choosing animals that fit small acreage. Not all livestock are suitable for a 1 acre farm. Large animals such as cattle require significant pasture and feed resources. On limited land, smaller livestock usually provide much better returns. Let's start with chickens. Chickens are often considered the gateway livestock for small farmers, and for good reason. They require relatively little space, produce eggs consistently, and can generate income through multiple channels. Farm-fresh eggs are one of the easiest agricultural products to sell directly to consumers. Many customers are willing to pay premium prices for eggs from pasture-raised or free-range birds. Some farmers also sell chicks, breeding stock, or processed poultry. In addition to income, chickens help control insects and contribute valuable manure that improves soil fertility. Next are rabbits. Rabbits are one of the most efficient livestock options available for small acre farmers. They reproduce quickly, require very little space, and have relatively low feed costs compared to larger animals. A well-managed rabbit operation can generate income from meat production, breeding stock sales, pet rabbits, and even manure sales. Rabbit manure is highly valued by gardeners because it can often be applied directly to garden beds without composting. For someone working with limited land, rabbits offer an impressive combination of productivity and flexibility. Another excellent option is quail. Quail require minimal space and mature rapidly. They produce eggs, meat, and breeding stock that can all be sold. Because of their small size, a surprisingly large number of quail can be raised in a relatively compact area. Bees are another livestock enterprise worth considering. Technically, they don't require pasture at all. Honey production, beeswax products, pollination services, and nucleus colony sales can create multiple income streams. Beekeeping does require knowledge and management, but the land requirements are minimal. Some one-acre farmers also raise goats. Goats can generate income through milk, cheese, breeding stock, brush clearing services, or meat production. However, goats require more fencing, more management, and more space than chickens or rabbits. For this reason, they are often better suited to larger properties unless managed carefully. One important lesson successful farmers learn is that stacking enterprises can dramatically increase profitability. For example, a farmer might grow vegetables, raise chickens, and maintain a small rabbit operation. Each enterprise supports the others. Vegetable scraps feed animals. Animal manure fertilizes crops. Customers who come for eggs often buy vegetables as well. This creates a more resilient business model than relying on a single source of income. The goal isn't to own every type of livestock. The goal is to choose a few complementary enterprises that work together efficiently. When done correctly, livestock can significantly increase the income potential of a one-acre farm while creating valuable products that customers are eager to buy. But regardless of what you grow or raise, your profits ultimately depend on one thing: your ability to sell. And that's exactly what we'll discuss next. You might be wondering something important. If one acre can produce all of these crops and livestock products, why aren't more small farmers making serious money? The answer often comes down to one word: marketing. Many beginning farmers focus almost entirely on production. They spend months learning how to grow vegetables, raise animals, build infrastructure, and improve yields. But they spend very little time learning how to sell. And in farming, production without sales is simply an expensive hobby. The most successful one-acre farmers understand that growing food is only half of the business. The other half is finding customers who are willing to pay premium prices. Let's look at an example. Imagine you grow tomatoes. You could sell those tomatoes to a wholesaler for a low price and make a modest return. Or you could sell directly to customers at a farmer's market, through a roadside stand, a community-supported agriculture program, or direct home delivery. The difference in profit can be enormous. The product is exactly the same. Only the sales method changes. This is why direct-to-consumer sales are often the foundation of successful small-acre farming businesses. When you sell directly, you keep the retail markup that would normally go to distributors, wholesalers, and grocery stores. Customers also appreciate freshness. Many consumers are willing to pay significantly more for produce harvested that same day compared to produce that traveled hundreds or thousands of miles. Another advantage of direct sales is customer relationships. When customers know the farmer personally, trust begins to develop. Trust often leads to repeat purchases. And repeat customers are the lifeblood of any successful farming business. Instead of constantly searching for new buyers, you build a loyal customer base that returns week after week. Many profitable farmers also create subscription models. For example, a weekly vegetable box program allows customers to prepay for a season of produce. This creates predictable income and reduces uncertainty. Some farmers combine vegetables, eggs, honey, herbs, flowers, and other products into one package. The result is higher customer value and stronger profitability. Restaurants can also be excellent customers. Chefs often pay premium prices for specialty products that are difficult to source from large suppliers. Fresh herbs, microgreens, heirloom tomatoes, edible flowers, and specialty greens are particularly popular. The key is consistency. A restaurant wants to know that you can reliably deliver quality products every week. Social media has also become a powerful marketing tool for small farmers. Simple photos and videos showing harvests, animals, and life on the farm can help build a local audience. People enjoy knowing where their food comes from, and that connection often influences purchasing decisions. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is assuming that customers will automatically appear. In reality, marketing requires effort. You need to communicate your value, tell your story, and build trust within your community. The good news is that a one-acre farm doesn't need thousands of customers. In many cases, a few dozen loyal buyers can generate a significant amount of revenue. The combination of high-value products and direct sales is what allows many small farms to earn far more than people expect. But even with excellent marketing, income can vary dramatically depending on the farming system you choose. So let's look at some realistic numbers and explore how much money different one-acre farming models can actually generate. Now let's get to the question everyone wants answered. How much money can you realistically make from 1 acre of land? The honest answer is that it depends entirely on the farming model you choose. But instead of giving vague estimates, let's look at several realistic scenarios. Scenario 1, the hobby homestead. This is the most common starting point. The primary goal is food production for the household, with occasional sales of excess produce, eggs, or homemade products. A hobby homestead might generate anywhere from $500 to $5,000 per year in sales. Financially, the biggest benefit often comes from reducing grocery bills rather than generating cash income. For many families, producing their own vegetables, eggs, herbs, and fruit can save thousands of dollars annually. Scenario 2, the part-time market garden. In this model, the farmer intentionally grows crops for sale while still working another job. A 1 acre market garden focused on vegetables, herbs, and direct sales may generate $10,000 to $30,000 in annual revenue. Net profit depends on expenses, labor efficiency, and marketing success. Many part-time farmers operate successfully in this range while maintaining full-time employment elsewhere. Scenario 3, the intensive market farm. This is where 1 acre farming starts becoming a serious business. The focus is on maximizing production, succession planting, premium crops, and direct-to-consumer sales. These farms often grow salad greens, microgreens, herbs, heirloom vegetables, flowers, and specialty products. Revenue can range from $30,000 to $75,000 or more per year. Some exceptional operators exceed these numbers, but they usually have years of experience and highly refined systems. Scenario 4, diversified farming. Instead of relying on a single enterprise, the farmer combines several income streams. For example, a market garden, a laying flock of chickens, a rabbit operation, honey production, seedling sales, value-added products. Because multiple enterprises support each other, diversified farms can often generate more stable income throughout the year. Depending on management, annual revenue may range from $20,000 to $60,000 or more. Scenario 5, premium specialty production. This is the category often featured in headlines and viral videos. Products such as gourmet mushrooms, microgreens, nursery plants, specialty herbs, cut flowers, and breeding livestock can generate very high revenue from small spaces. Some farms have reported six-figure gross revenues from less than an acre. However, these businesses usually require advanced skills, strong marketing, specialized knowledge, and significant labor. They're not impossible, they're simply not typical beginner outcomes. This brings us to an important distinction. Revenue is not profit. Many people hear that a farm generated $100,000 and assume the owner kept all of it. In reality, expenses can consume a substantial portion of revenue. Seeds, feed, infrastructure, tools, fuel, packaging, market fees, utilities, and labor all affect profitability. That's why smart farmers focus on net profit, not just sales. A farm generating $40,000 in revenue with low expenses may be healthier than one generating $100,000 with massive overhead. The biggest takeaway is this: 1 acre can absolutely generate meaningful income. But success depends far more on management, crop selection, marketing, and efficiency than on the size of the property itself. Next, let's examine the startup costs and investments required to build a profitable 1 acre farm. One of the biggest questions aspiring farmers ask is this: how much money do I need to get started? The answer depends on the type of farm you want to build. The good news is that 1 acre farming doesn't require the massive investments often associated with large commercial agriculture. In fact, many successful small farmers start with limited budgets and expand gradually as profits increase. Let's break down the major startup expenses. The first category is infrastructure. This includes things like fencing, irrigation systems, raised beds, greenhouses, storage sheds, animal housing, and basic farm improvements. A simple market garden may require only a few $1,000s to get started. A more advanced operation with livestock, irrigation, and season extension structures could require significantly more. The second category is tools and equipment. One advantage of small acre farming is that many tasks can be completed with hand tools. Items such as wheelbarrows, shovels, rakes, hoes, seeders, harvest knives, and irrigation supplies often provide everything needed during the early stages. Many beginners make the mistake of purchasing expensive equipment before they actually need it. Successful farmers often start small and upgrade only when increased production justifies the expense. The third category is seeds, plants, and livestock. Compared to infrastructure, these costs are usually relatively modest. However, quality matters. Healthy seedlings, productive genetics, and reliable seed varieties can dramatically affect future profits. Trying to save money by purchasing poor quality stock often becomes more expensive in the long run. Next comes water. Water is one of the most important resources on any farm. Depending on your location, you may need irrigation lines, hoses, water tanks, pumps, or rainwater collection systems. Reliable water access is not optional. It's essential. Marketing expenses are another category many beginners overlook. Farmers market fees, signage, packaging materials, business cards, websites, and social media advertising can all play a role in attracting customers. Remember, growing products is only half the business. The other half is selling them. Now let's talk about realistic startup budgets. A very basic one-acre operation focused on vegetables might start with as little as $1,000 to $5,000. This usually requires creativity, used equipment, and a willingness to do most of the labor manually. A more developed diversified farm with livestock, irrigation, fencing, and infrastructure may require $5,000 to $20,000 or more. The exact number varies widely depending on your goals. Here's the important lesson: do not feel pressured to build everything at once. Many successful farmers start with one enterprise. Maybe it's vegetables, maybe it's chickens, maybe it's rabbits. They focus on learning, building customers, and generating income. Then they reinvest profits into expansion. This approach reduces risk and prevents unnecessary debt. One of the biggest advantages of one-acre farming is flexibility. You can start small, test ideas, learn from mistakes, and grow steadily over time. The goal isn't to create a perfect farm on day one. The goal is to build a profitable farm that improves year after year. And that brings us to one of the smartest strategies in small-scale farming: diversification. Because relying on a single income source can be risky, many successful farmers build multiple revenue streams that work together. Let's look at how that works. One of the most important principles in small-scale farming is this: never rely on a single source of income. Many new farmers put all their energy into one crop, one animal, or one market. At first, this seems logical. After all, focusing on one thing makes management simpler. But farming is unpredictable. Weather changes, pests appear, markets fluctuate, customer demand shifts, and sometimes, despite your best efforts, things simply don't go according to plan. This is why the most successful one-acre farmers build multiple income streams. Diversification creates stability. When one enterprise struggles, another can help carry the farm forward. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine a farmer who only grows tomatoes. If disease affects the crop or market prices drop, the entire year's income may suffer. Now imagine another farmer who grows vegetables, sells eggs, raises rabbits, produces honey, and offers seedlings in spring. Even if one enterprise underperforms, several others continue generating revenue. This creates resilience, and resilience is one of the keys to long-term success. The best part is that many farm enterprises naturally support one another. For example, chickens produce manure that can fertilize garden beds. Rabbits produce manure that gardeners value highly. Bees improve pollination for fruit trees and vegetables. Compost transforms waste into valuable soil amendments. Each enterprise strengthens the entire system. Let's look at some of the most common income streams found on profitable one-acre farms. Fresh vegetables are often the foundation. They're in constant demand and can be harvested throughout much of the year. Next are eggs. Many customers who buy vegetables also buy eggs, making them an easy addition to direct sales. Then come herbs and specialty crops. These products often command higher prices than standard produce and appeal to chefs and health-conscious consumers. Seedling sales can create significant income during the spring season. Many gardeners prefer purchasing healthy young plants rather than starting seeds themselves. Cut flowers are another profitable option. Flowers can generate impressive revenue from relatively small spaces and attract a different customer base than vegetables. Honey and beeswax products offer additional opportunities. Many consumers actively seek locally produced honey. Rabbit production, poultry breeding, and specialty livestock can provide yet another source of revenue. Some farmers even generate income through educational activities. Workshops, farm tours, online courses, consulting, and social media content have become increasingly common revenue streams. This is especially true as more people become interested in homesteading and sustainable living. Value-added products can further increase profitability. Instead of selling raw ingredients, farmers process them into higher value products. Examples include fresh herbs turned into seasoning blends, honey turned into gift packages, Tomatoes turned into sauces, peppers turned into hot sauce, fruit turned into jams and preserves. These products often command much higher profit margins than raw produce alone. The goal is not to create 20 different businesses. The goal is to build several complementary income streams that work together efficiently. When done correctly, diversification transforms a one-acre farm from a single-source business into a stable and profitable ecosystem. Now that we've discussed the opportunities, let's talk about reality. Because not every one-acre farm succeeds. In the next section, we'll examine the biggest mistakes that prevent small farmers from reaching their income goals. By now, it's probably clear that one acre can generate a meaningful income. But if that's true, why do so many small farms struggle financially? The answer often has less to do with land and more to do with decisions. Over the years, experienced farmers have noticed the same mistakes appearing again and again. Let's start with the most common one: growing what you like instead of what the market wants. Many beginners fill their gardens with crops they personally enjoy eating. There's nothing wrong with that if your goal is self-sufficiency. But if your goal is profit, customer demand must guide your decisions. The market doesn't care what your favorite vegetable is. The market cares about what people are willing to buy. Successful farmers study local demand before planting. They identify products that customers actively seek and focus their efforts there. The second major mistake is trying to do too much. New farmers often attempt to grow dozens of crops while raising several types of livestock at the same time. This usually leads to exhaustion, poor management, and disappointing results. The most profitable farms are often surprisingly simple. They focus on a few high-performing enterprises and execute them exceptionally well. Another common mistake is underpricing products. Many new farmers feel uncomfortable charging premium prices. They compare themselves to supermarkets and assume they must compete on price. That approach rarely works. Small farms cannot compete with industrial agriculture on volume. They compete on freshness, quality, local production, and customer relationships. People are often willing to pay more for products they trust. Undervaluing your products can quickly destroy profitability. Another costly mistake is ignoring record keeping. Many farmers know how much they harvest. Far fewer know exactly how much profit they make. Without accurate records, it's impossible to identify which enterprises are truly successful. You should track expenses, sales, labor, production levels, and customer trends. The numbers often reveal opportunities that would otherwise remain hidden. Poor marketing is another major problem. Some farmers spend months growing beautiful products but invest almost no time finding customers. Then harvest season arrives, and they struggle to sell what they've produced. Marketing should begin long before harvest. Building an audience, collecting customer contacts, and creating anticipation can make a tremendous difference. Another mistake is taking on too much debt. Large loans and expensive equipment can place enormous pressure on a new farming operation. Many successful small farmers begin with basic tools and reinvest profits as they grow. Starting small may not be exciting, but it often leads to stronger long-term results. Impatience also hurts many new farmers. Some people expect full-time income within their first season. When that doesn't happen, they become discouraged and quit. In reality, farming is a long-term endeavor. The first year is often about learning. The second year is usually more productive. And by the third year, systems become more efficient, customer relationships become stronger, and profitability often improves significantly. Perhaps the biggest mistake of all is giving up too soon. Many successful farms looked unimpressive in the beginning. What separated successful farmers from unsuccessful ones wasn't luck. It was persistence. They kept learning, they kept improving, and they kept adapting. Avoid these mistakes, and you'll immediately put yourself ahead of many people attempting to build income from a small acreage. Now let's bring everything together and answer the most important question. Is 1 acre actually enough to build a profitable farming business? So, after everything we've discussed, let's answer the question that brought you to this video. Is 1 acre really enough? The answer is yes, but probably not in the way most people imagine. If your goal is to become a large-scale commodity farmer growing corn, soybeans, or wheat, then 1 acre is nowhere near enough. Modern commodity agriculture depends on scale. Thousands of acres, large machinery, and slim profit margins are often required to generate substantial income. But that's not the model we've been discussing. We've been talking about small-scale farming, a completely different approach, an approach where value matters more than volume, where customer relationships matter more than acreage, and where creativity often matters more than equipment. When managed strategically, 1 acre can provide food, generate income, reduce household expenses, and create a more resilient lifestyle. For some people, that income may be a few $1,000s per year. For others, it may become a profitable side business. And for a smaller group of highly skilled farmers, it may even grow into a full-time livelihood. The key is understanding that 1 acre is not a magic solution. Land by itself doesn't generate money. A profitable farm is built through planning, management, marketing, and consistent effort. The farmers who succeed are not necessarily the ones with the most land. They're the ones who use their land most efficiently. They choose profitable enterprises. They understand their customers. They build systems that improve over time. And they remain committed even when progress feels slow. 1 acre also offers something that is difficult to measure in dollars. Freedom. The freedom to grow your own food. The freedom to control part of your income. The freedom to develop valuable skills that can serve you for years to come. Even if your farm never generates six figures, the combination of food production, financial savings, and supplemental income can have a significant impact on your quality of life. This is why interest in small-scale farming continues to grow around the world. People are realizing that they don't need hundreds of acres to create something meaningful. They simply need a clear plan and the willingness to start. And that's perhaps the most important lesson in this entire video. You don't need the perfect property. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need decades of experience. You simply need to begin where you are, with the resources you have, and improve little by little over time. Because 1 acre, managed well, can accomplish far more than most people realize. So, how much money can you really make from 1 acre farming? As we've seen throughout this video, the answer depends on your goals, your strategy, and your willingness to learn. A poorly managed acre may generate very little income. A well-managed acre can provide food, reduce household expenses, generate thousands of dollars in annual revenue, and potentially grow into a serious business over time. The difference is not the land. The difference is how the land is used. The most successful small farmers focus on high-value enterprises. They maximize every square foot. They build strong customer relationships. They diversify their income streams. And most importantly, they continuously improve their systems year after year. If you're just getting started, don't feel pressured to build the perfect farm overnight. Start small, choose one enterprise, learn the basics, build your confidence, then expand gradually as your skills and customer base grow. Maybe you start with a small vegetable garden. Maybe you begin selling eggs. Maybe you raise a few rabbits or grow specialty herbs. The specific enterprise matters less than taking action. Every successful farm began with a single step. One bed, one flock, one customer, one sale. The people who eventually build profitable farms are usually not the smartest or the luckiest. They're simply the ones who stay consistent long enough to learn what works. Remember, farming is a journey. Your first year may be focused on learning. Your second year may be focused on improving. Your third year may be when you begin seeing significant results. Progress often happens much slower than we expect at first, but much faster than we imagine over the long term. And perhaps that's the greatest opportunity 1 acre offers. Not just the chance to make money, but the chance to create something valuable with your own hands. Something productive, something sustainable, something that can continue growing for years to come. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what kind of farm you're planning, how much land you're working with, or what enterprise interests you most. And if you'd like more videos about homesteading, small-scale farming, livestock, market gardening, and building profitable farm businesses, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching, and remember, you don't need hundreds of acres to build a successful farm. Sometimes, 1 acre is more than enough. See you in the next video.